Hey YouTube, this is Big Rob coming back at you. Want to take a few moments, hopefully not too long, to give my opinions on what happened recently in Virginia. What I'm talking about, of course, as many of you know, is this issue with the white supremacist group now known as Unite the Right, an alt-right group, and of course Black Lives Matter and Antifa. I'm going to try to hit a bunch of points really quick, and I just want folks to kind of take a listen. I'm sure many of you will disagree. Firstly, let me state that I would like to give complete and total kudos to those of us, all of us, in the center of this discussion, and I mean the center. We are talking about people that are black, white, light brown, dark brown, Asian, Middle Eastern. Lots of videos out there, lots of comments of folks that are just not going to get pulled into this lunacy, which is all it can be described as. Now, what we had here is we had a white supremacist group that had a permit that was rallying. Black Lives Matter showed up, and of course Antifa, which seems to be the provocateurs of just about every rally that ever happens. What I find interesting is, firstly, Black Lives Matter was talking about how they did not want the hate speech to continue. Well, here's the problem, folks. We have what's called freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. It's in our Constitution. Now, nowhere in that Constitution does it state that certain speech is protected. In fact, what most people, the majority of people don't get, is that freedom of speech is there to protect everybody, even hate speech. Okay? It was never meant to protect agreeable speech or likable speech or uplifting speech. It was there to protect the speech that nobody wanted to hear, nobody wanted to get out. So the fact that Black Lives Matter and Antifa tried to shut it down is ultimately ignorant on their part. Now, that does not take away the hate-filled ideology of the white supremacist movement. What I find comical on their end is we've got a group of people that basically are trying to make sure that everybody on the planet knows that whites will not be forgotten. Okay, to those of you who are white supremacists, if you're watching, you're still 65% of the population in the United States. I don't think anybody's going to disappear, okay? I don't know what you're fighting for. You're not losing your rights. You're not losing your ability to be white. In fact, I find the whole conversation on both sides quite comical. You know, there was this guy in our history, just some dude, okay? His name was Martin Luther King. And he made a statement where he had stated that someday he hoped for the dream that we would be judged by the content of our character, not the color of our skin. I find that very ironic, because here we are in 2017, and we've got a white supremacist group that is basically flaunting the color of their skin in order to protect it. And then we've got Black Lives Matter, which is basically flaunting the color of their skin in order to protect it. What's funny about that is, last time I checked, whites and blacks are both white and black 365 days a year. Now, then you got Antifa. Antifa is sitting here trying to state that they want rights for everybody to be equal. Well, that's interesting, Antifa. But you are also removing the ability for this white supremacist group to speak. Now, again, like I said, we don't have to agree with white supremacist speech. We don't have to support white supremacist speech, but they still had a right, and they had the permit to do so. Now, if Antifa or Black Lives Matter had any recollection of the legalities and any respect for this country, they would have applied for a permit to counter-protest. This way, you could have had a protest and a counter-protest peacefully, but no, that's not what happened. Okay? So, when President Trump said there was anger, hate on both sides, he was speaking factually. Now, I find this interesting also. When he first made his statement, of course, the media jumped in. A lot of people on social media jumped in. Well, he didn't say it fast enough. He didn't let people know that the white supremacists were the issue. No, he didn't. Here's a couple of problems that we have with that. Firstly, he didn't have enough content to make a judgment call on that. Okay? He wasn't going to make a wrongful statement just because he heard a rumor. He needed to find out exactly what happened. That's the first thing. Secondly, and this is toward most of you right-wingers all the way to the right and left-wingers all the way to the left. When, in God's name, did we decide that our moral compass is judged upon when Mr. Trump, or whoever the president may be, makes a statement? He is not our minister. He is not our spiritual guide. He's not our moral leader. And if you think he is, well, then you're kind of a tard. That's basically how it is. Waiting for the president to denounce something is ridiculous. It's not his job. You know what is his job? To lead this country. You know what the population in this country's job is? To act like civilized human beings. And the actions in Virginia on both sides showed no civilness whatsoever. When violence is taken into action instead of protest, you go from being somebody who is trying to make a point to a criminal. That's all you are. Okay? And I'm telling you right now, you may not believe me. There's the radical right, there's the radical left, and then there's those of us in the center. That is where you guys need to focus, especially Antifa, because Antifa thinks that they're all tough and everything. The reality is there's those of us in the center that are going to get tired of the radical right, and the radical left. And we're going to put you both down like dogs because you're messing with our country. And there's a lot more of us than there is of you. We're tired of it. Blacks, whites, Asians, Middle Eastern, Hispanics, we're all tired of you guys ruining our country with the race baiting on both sides. We're tired of you playing the victim on both sides. Thank God. Thank God. I've seen so many videos and comments from people of all colors that are basically tired of it. They're sick of hearing the race card all the time. They're sick of hearing whites acting like they're supreme, over everybody. They're tired of hearing blacks sit there and play victim. They're tired. And these are black people, okay? So imagine, if the blacks are not supporting the blacks in this ridiculous lunacy, what exactly are you accomplishing? Now, I've seen a lot of comments also where people have asked, for the removal of a lot of these statues. Okay, let's talk about that. One of the questions I see commonly is, will removing these statues end racism? The short answer is no. The fact is, people in this planet are always going to find something to hate each other for. Sadly, it's inherently human. This is what we do. We've had a number of presidents that have gotten on TV over the years, over generations, that have said, this is not what America is about. This is not what America is built on. Actually, it is. Our country, the United States of America, was built on blood, sweat, war, slavery, land grabs, overtakes. But guess what? We're not the only country that's done it, and we're not there now. We can choose not to be. But to sit in the past and cry about the past is utterly ridiculous. And it's a sad state of affairs. It doesn't show any character whatsoever as a country. Now, here's where I'm going to piss some of you folks off. And I want you to listen very carefully. We have some very interesting ironies going on here. One of the ironies is the fact that we have the KKK, the United Right, white supremacists. These folks, years past, wore hoods and robes. Why? To look like ghosts. To hide themselves so that nobody knew who they were. Okay? These are the evil ones. The ones with the messed up ideology. Well, it's now 2017. And the people that claim to be fighting for the rights of everyone, Antifa, well, now they're the ones wearing the masks because they don't want anybody to know who they are. Talk about a lack of courage. If you truly believe in something, show yourself. What's the worst that can happen? Oh, wait. The worst that can happen is he'll be chastised like he should be. Because Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and the white supremacists really aren't that far apart. They're all built on hate. That's a sad, sad state of affairs in itself. Adding to this, we must remember, even removing these statues will not change the way the history is, or how it was. I've asked a couple of people this, and I still am waiting for an answer. In order to remove, truly remove, all of the aspects of slavery, because that seems to be where they're focused on, is removing statues of slave owners and so on and so forth. To truly remove those things from the public arena, with those same people, would those same people be agreeable to remove a memorial of Booker T. Washington? Or why don't we remove any memorials that have to do with the Buffalo Soldiers? See, they were slaves, as was he. And the Buffalo Soldiers fought with the Confederacy as free men. Booker T was one of the most profound auditors of the day. Came out of a slave field. But of course, history always records the victors, always records the wins. We as a society, all of us, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, the white supremacist groups, we don't want to talk about the bad stuff. We want to remove it. We want to ignore it. We want to act like it's not around. We want to sweep it under the rug. Why? Are you afraid of confronting it? I mean, honestly, let's be truthful here. As it has been said many, many times before I ever made this video, the reality is there isn't a person alive today that's ever owned a slave. Not one of us. Sadly, they're all dead. It's done. There's also nobody alive anymore that was a slave. The closest thing that any black person in this country has ever been to, as far as picking cotton, is grabbing underwear out of your own dresser drawer. Now that doesn't diminish. By all means, don't get the idea that I'm diminishing slavery. Slavery is an evil trade. Slavery is a smudge I don't think this country will ever overcome. Okay? But to live in yesterday is the reason why we have such a hard time creating a tomorrow. We're still worrying about what happened 200 years ago. We're not even sure what we're going to do next Wednesday. We have an opportunity here, folks, in this country. And we've had this opportunity many times, over many years, over many generations. And here we sit, screwing it up again. If you were to take any one of us, black, white, brown, yellow, purple, polka dotted, all of us, and you put us behind an x-ray machine, what would you see? I'm pretty sure that none of you would be able to tell. Because we're the same. Now, I know that there are those on both sides that are going to say, well, you don't understand. You don't know what I've been through. You're right. You're right. I don't know what you've been through. And nobody else knows what you've been through either. Nobody's been in your shoes. So I ask you this. Because I haven't been through what you've been through, and I've never walked in your shoes, what are you doing to change the situation? Are you busy pointing the finger? Or are you making the changes in yourself to inspire other people to do better? Because in the end, it's going to have to start with somebody. We need to think about these things. The racial tension in this country is ridiculous. And we have to understand that we had a black president for 8 years. And for 8 years, these white supremacist groups did rallies every year. They haven't been hiding. They get their 10 seconds of fame and some small paper or some quick mention on the news, and then everybody forgets about it. Why? Because we got jobs. We got things to do, kids to raise. Why is that? Why now? Why suddenly with Trump? I mean, honestly, I heard a video recently on YouTube that really made me laugh because it's true. A young woman had said, "What did you think? Did you honestly believe that the KKK has been sitting there in the shadows, quietly waiting for the next white president?" Brilliant. Because the fact is they haven't. Like, again, I don't agree with their ideology. And I'll guarantee you, the majority of the country doesn't either. But it doesn't stop them, giving them the right to protest and rally. Just like the new Black Panther Party holding signs saying kill white women and babies. I don't have to agree with that. Majority of black people don't believe in that. But they had a permit. They had a right to speak their minds. Is it hate speech? Yes. But it's protected. What I find sad is that we as a country are easily triggered emotionally by things like that we have never even lived through. We've never even had to deal with. And we're triggered today. You know, it shocks me because I actually was on a commentary, a story, and I was, going back and forth with folks. And a number of people had said, well, things haven't changed that much since Jim Crow days. I find that odd. Because in the Jim Crow days, most blacks, education, college, not even a thought. In the Jim Crow days, the protests that you're seeing today would have never happened. Things have changed, folks. People have changed. The country has changed. We're continuing to change. But we have to get out of the past. There is nothing that's going to ever stop racism except for a change of heart. You can protest all you want to. You can remove all the ideologies, all the statues, all the documents. You can burn it all to the ground. And for those who want to, they're still going to hate. We live in a country that hates on instinct, intuition, not just race. We got people that hate other people for their politics, for their religion, for their sexual gender, and their sexual choices. There's even people out there that hate other people because they make more money than they do, forgetting the fact that maybe that other person worked harder than they did. But we hate them. We hate them. You ask a lot of a lot of folks today, there you'll even find people that say they hate the rich people. My question on that one is, why? Because they were smarter than you? Because they were able to make better money than you? What is stopping you from having the ambition to be rich too? At the end of the day, we're going to have to ask ourselves, what did we accomplish through all this? Once we've removed all the statues, once we've removed all the signs, all the insignia, once we protested, rallied, fought, begged, bled, and argued, what have we accomplished? Do you think that it was the right thing to do? And at the end, are you worth losing? Is it worth losing everything to find out if you were right? This country has a lot of issues, folks, and we've got a checkered past. But we also have more opportunities in this country than people could ever imagine. And all we have to do is have common sense. And that's something that this country is seriously lacking. When we look to the government to denounce something that we ourselves only have to denounce. And you know how we denounce it? How do we denounce hate? I'll tell you. It's simple. Stop. That's it. Stop looking at the past. Stop looking at what happened to your ancestors. I'm Hispanic. You don't see me getting pissed off because my people lost land, years ago. That was then, this is now. Just stop. Here's the next thing we do. We raise our children better. Raise our children not to look at skin color. Raise our children not to be judgmental. Raise our children not to be so divisive. Now, if we don't do that, then we will end up raising and creating another generation of people in this country that are just like the one before it and the one before them. And it'll continue. It's up to us. The violence needs to stop. Antifa needs to go wherever it is they go. White supremacists need to stop worrying about not being white. The black folks in this country need to stop defending their blackness. And everybody else needs to chill. The hate's got to end, guys. It's got to end. If it doesn't, this is going to get bad. And in the end, all we'll have is another smudge in the history of this country. We got to stop playing victim. We as a country, as people, have the chance to make the next chapter of victory. It's up to us. I hope those of you out there in the middle agree with me. It's not going to be easy. But we can't let these radical groups on the left or the right destroy the very country that we have. Far too many white, black, Asian, Hispanic people have lost their lives. Native Americans have lost their lives just to get us to this point. I say we respect their memories by not repeating the same insanity. Let's have a little pride in ourselves. And I mean white pride, black pride, Hispanic pride. How about human pride? Let's have some human pride. Sounds like a good idea to me. We're better than this. We just haven't showed it yet. And many times in this country, we've proven it. We need to prove it again. I'm asking all those in the center of this debate to get together and make sure that all these radical groups on both sides know we are not going to let them tear this country down. We are bound and determined to improve ourselves, our families, our futures, and yes, our country through this president and the president after him and the president after him. Or her. Who knows? Just some food for thought. We've got a lot of work to do, folks. You have a great day. This is Big Rob. I'll talk to you later.